Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim, and this is an Astra 400. It's a pistol that was used by the Spanish Army up until near the end of the 20th century. This one's from about 1924-ish. Gosh, I don't know exactly, but this book does. I do know, and I've got a piece of paper in there that mentions the Army group that received it and where it was used in the Spanish Civil War. But that's not what this is about. I haven't done a rant video in a while, and I thought I'd do one. Well, not a rant, not exactly my usual rant video. I watch a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of good channels out there that I like to watch. Of course, Ian McCollum and Forgotten Weapons, Othias and CN Arsenal. There's a guy who calls himself the Blind Sniper, who's pretty good. My buddy, the Czars Taylor, who's a small-time YouTuber like me, but he does some pretty cool stuff too, and is an absolute wizard with a needle and thread. Anyway, there's also some big-time ones like Brandon Herrera, Donut Operator, Angry Cop. There's a guy called the Fat Electrician who does mainly military history, and does it in a way that most people can actually enjoy the history. I majored in history in college, so it's something that's near and dear to me anyway. So I understand where he's coming from in a lot of ways. But going back to one, there's a guy named Rich, and Rich is the Angry Cop. Angry Cop was a drill instructor in the Army, and he basically does a video about the modern Army and things that he sees in it that are not up to snuff. And a lot of these guys get together for conversation and beer. And on another podcast that's run by a guy who goes by Eli Double Tap, and that podcast is called the Unsubscribed Podcast. And they'll just sit down and have a brew and talk about stuff, and it's just guys talking about stuff. Well, Rich was talking in a recent Unsubscribed, and he basically let some things off his chest. He works for the Baltimore PD. He's a cop. And he's part of their team investigating a lot of nasty things. And he's the kind of cop who spends his day dealing with the scum of the earth. In a previous life, when I was working in IT, I worked for a major metropolitan city, and I was the IT liaison guy for the cop shop. And that meant occasionally I had to do ride-alongs to make sure that the terminals they were using, this is in the days before laptops, that the terminals were still working, that the system was up to snuff, that I could talk to them about databases and how things could interact correctly. And, I went to meetings over the cop shop many times with many cops and many people. I knew cops. I didn't particularly like them. Most of them were just hardworking guys. There were a few that were kind of mean, and I didn't like them at all. And there were some in that area of the world that were really mean and really bad, and I won't talk about that. But Rich is a good man. He's a good man. And let me preface something. I have a son who's in his 30s now, but he went to public school. And he used to come home with tales, some of which were hard for me to believe that teachers and administrators that I paid good hard tax money to support were allowing this kind of, well, frankly, bullshit to happen. I won't go into the details, but anyway, Rich works in Baltimore, New York, and he was talking to some school people about what was going on in the school, and it turns out that several kids, this is kind of hard to stomach. Kids were being abused in the school system. And the kids are being abused, and they're not really keeping accurate records of it. They're not reporting it to the proper authorities. They're not, the counselors are not really counseling the kids. They're watching out for their own posterior and whether or not they're going to get down checked for their next performance review. You know, bureaucrats. The administrators are hiding things. Anyway, I'm going to leave a link to that unsubscribed podcast in my description. Please watch it, because Rich and the other guys at Unsubscribe really discuss this situation, and it's kind of sick. Anyway, just something I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to get out there. I'm not big, but maybe I'll kid a few people, and they can pass it on to people they know. Happy trails.